Judas Iscariot is one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ mentioned in the New Testament. He is best known for betraying Jesus, which led to his arrest and crucifixion. Background: Judas Iscariot was one of Jesus' closest followers and was entrusted with the role of treasurer among the disciples. However, the Gospels depict him as a figure with questionable motivations, particularly his concern with money. The betrayal. Judas's betrayal of Jesus is a pivotal event in the New Testament. According to the Gospels, Judas conspired with the religious leaders of the time, specifically the chief priests, who were looking for a way to arrest Jesus without causing an uproar among the people. Judas agreed to betray Jesus in exchange for 30 pieces of silver. The act. Judas's betrayal occurred during the Passover when Jesus and his disciples were in Jerusalem. After the Last Supper, Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray, accompanied by some of his disciples. Judas arrived with soldiers and officers sent by the chief priests and Pharisees. Judas used a prearranged signal to identify Jesus to the arresting soldiers. He would greet Jesus with a kiss, which is now commonly referred to as the kiss of Judas. This kiss marked Jesus out for arrest. Aftermath. After betraying Jesus, Judas is depicted as feeling deep remorse for his actions. According to the Gospel of Matthew, Judas tried to return the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests, declaring that he had betrayed innocent blood. However, the priests rejected his plea. Filled with guilt, Judas threw the money into the temple and then went away and hanged himself. The other Gospels provide different accounts of his death. For example, in the book of Acts, it is said that Judas bought a field with the money, and there he died after falling and his body burst open. Significance. Judas Iscariot's betrayal is often interpreted as fulfilling Old Testament prophecies and playing a necessary role in the events that led to Jesus' crucifixion. This is central to Christian belief in redemption and salvation. Judas' name has since become synonymous with betrayal and treachery.
The interpretation of Judas Iscariot, the disciple who betrayed Jesus, has been a significant and enduring subject of theological debate for centuries. This debate, which has shaped the understanding of Christian teachings, revolves around the traditional view of Judas as a villain and the alternative interpretations that suggest a more complex role for him in fulfilling divine prophecy. Traditional view. In the New Testament, particularly in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Judas is portrayed as the betrayer who handed Jesus over to the authorities for 30 pieces of silver. His actions are often seen as a grave sin, leading to his ultimate despair and suicide. From this perspective, Judas is most considered a tragic figure who succumbed to greed, temptation, or even demonic influence. Alternative interpretations. Gnostic and apocryphal texts. Some early Christian writings, such as the Gospel of Judas, present an alternative view of Judas. In these texts, Judas is not a traitor, but a figure acting on Jesus' instructions, playing a crucial role in the divine plan for salvation. This interpretation challenges the traditional view of Judas as a villain, suggesting that his actions were part of a larger divine narrative. Theological perspectives. Some theologians argue that Judas' actions, while morally reprehensible, were essential for the fulfillment of the prophecy concerning Jesus' death and resurrection. This perspective suggests that Judas' betrayal was necessary to God's plan for human salvation. In this sense, Judas could be seen not as a hero in the traditional sense, but as a tragic figure who played a pivotal role in the larger divine narrative. Philosophical and ethical considerations. Others explore the possibility that Judas' betrayal highlights the complexity of free will, predestination, and moral responsibility. If predestination led Judas to betray Jesus, some argue that his role might be seen as tragic rather than purely villainous, raising questions about the nature of sin and forgiveness. Whether Judas is considered a hero, a villain, or something in between, your theological, philosophical, and cultural perspective is crucial. In traditional Christian teachings, Judas remains a symbol of betrayal and the consequences of sin. However, alternative interpretations invite a more nuanced view, suggesting that his role in the story of Jesus' crucifixion might necessitate a complex and even necessary ponderance within the context of divine providence.